Hey, what's going on, guys? Tony Car here with another video. And this video, I'm doing a little something different because, I had a video that was overdue for a while now, and that was my story time video. And I said, you know what? This time, why don't I just do play a game in the background to make it more interesting while I tell the story. So, this video apparently that's overdue was the story of how I got into weather. Because people were really curious to know how. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. I might as well. So, how do I do this? How I got into weather. This story is really interesting. Because I've been in the weather for 17 years now. I've been doing interested in weather since 2007. And so the way I got into weather actually started with an actual tornado that happened back in 2007. So it was March 1st, 2007, right? So it's my birthday. I just turned 7 years old, and I didn't know this at the time, but there was severe weather down in the south, in like Alabama. So in the town of Enterprise, Alabama, an EF4 tornado ripped through the town and actually hit the Enterprise High School. And like I said, I was 7 at the time, and I actually did not know this happened. But when I heard the news that 9 students were killed at that high school from that tornado, it actually kind of hit me, even though I never lived down there. So, but this story is actually interesting because this is how I got into weather. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to track these things to better understand them, and that's exactly what I decided to do. I decided to track storms throughout the years to see how I can better understand them, and let's just say now in the future. So from 2007 to 2024, now that's 17 years. I've tracked hundreds of tornadoes. Not just hundreds, but I used a lot of radar imaging, and even looked at different forecast models to see how things are going to go for these storms. And as the years went on, after 2007, once I started getting more and more into weather and forecasting how the weather is going to be for certain days, I actually decided, you know what, this is definitely for me. Once I decided that, what I did was I pretty much just tell everybody what the weather for the day was going to be. And that's how I actually became the meteorologist for my classroom. For those of you guys that don't know, when I was in school, my teachers were really amazed how about me forecasting weather. So I just took the opportunity to be able to tell them the forecast every day. And I did it all the way up till I graduated high school. So that's one thing. The tornado side, like I said, all came from what happened in 2007. So for the tornadoes, I started, reading books, studying tornadoes, learning how tornadoes form, how they develop, and how they do the damage that they do. Once I got that down, I started, looking at, SPC and severe weather outlooks to better understand when and where severe weather is going to happen. And then I started looking at, different models, like, started getting into HRRR, learning how I can determine where exactly storms are going to form, how fast are they going to move, and where they're going to hit, and if and when they're going to have all the ingredients to produce a tornado. So all that came to play, and I'm going to skip to a certain day. So it's May. There's going to be certain days, odd days in here I'm going to talk about. So first one is in 2011. I want to say, I think April 2011. they're the most, which was one of the worst tornado seasons I ever tracked tornadoes in. It all started with April 14th through the April 14th to the 16th, where multiple tornadoes would tear across the south. I mean, through Oklahoma all the way to North Carolina. And one of those tornadoes ended up being an EF3 that actually ripped through, I think, Sanford, North Carolina. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But yeah, that EF3, there was actually a video I saw of the tornado when it hit a Lowe's, and the tornado actually did damage the Lowe's. Luckily, everyone inside the Lowe's was okay, but there were people, I want to say, I can't remember the exact number of fatalities from that day, but there were definitely fatalities from those tornadoes. Another strong tornado happened near Tushka, Oklahoma. I think this was on the 14th of April. This was a EF3 multi-vortex tornado. This tornado ended up catching a family off guard, and this family ended up having to go heading to a shelter. And what happened was a tree fell in that shelter, so they had to ride the storm out outside. The tornado was literally right on top of them, and from that point on, and this family actually did survive. They came out unscathed. So this little outbreak of tornadoes from these few days was just the start of what was, little did I know at the time, was the start of something bigger, which I didn't realize was happening. Then we go to April 22nd, an EF4 tornado touches down in the St. Louis metro area. Luckily, no one was killed, but a lot of the video I saw from this tornado was from when it hit the airport. And I think it's called Lambert International Airport. Correct me if I'm wrong again. But this was a very damaging tornado. And oh boy. I thought it couldn't get any worse. But boy, was I wrong. We fast forward to the 25th through the 28th, which was the super outbreak. And oh boy, I have never seen parameters for tornadoes so maxed out in my life until that day. Multiple EF2 plus tornadoes. I'm going to go to the 27th. So on the 27th of April, there were multiple tornadoes, over 300 to be exact. There were four EF5s, which were Philadelphia, Phil Campbell, Hackleburg, Smithville, Rainsville. I think those were those ones. But yeah, those tornadoes I was just terrified for the people when I was tracking this thing. The data I was getting was unbelievable. And then I think as some of these tornadoes were going on, there were EF4s going on at the same time. Like one EF4 that in Coleman, Alabama, there was the Arab EF4. There was the tornado that went through the Tuscaloosa metro area, which was the tornado that caught my attention, because when I saw how huge Tuscaloosa was, I was like, oh boy, these people need to take cover immediately. And dear God, 65 people would be killed in Tuscaloosa. The damage was insane. This tornado ended up getting a high-end EF4 rating, wind speeds of 190 miles an hour, excuse me. But the damage done was, this thing could have been an EF5, but we don't know it, but I'm sticking with the rating that the Weather Service shows. I don't question the Weather Service for ratings. Another thing I want to add on to this. With that tornado, then this same tornado would tear through, this same tornado would tear through the suburbs of Birmingham. And this was just, I was just begging for the outbreak to end. There were too many violent tornadoes going through metropolitan areas. And I was saying, God, please let this outbreak end. And once it was over 300 tornadoes will be confirmed. But The month of April had over 758 tornadoes alone. That is the most in a single month. And let me break this down to you guys. Let me explain this. We get over 1,000 tornadoes a year. We pretty much got 3/4 of the tornadoes we got in a single year, in 1 month. Now, was I surprised? Yes. Did I ever expect that to happen? No. But oh boy, was the season not over. The carnage would continue next month into May. It all started on May 22nd, 2011. On May 22nd, 2011, an EF5 tornado would touch down, ripping through the town of Joplin, Missouri. And dear God, this was one of the costliest tornadoes in half a century, one of the deadliest in half a century. When I saw the damage, I was horrified. Not only that, when I saw how fast the tornado formed when tracking this, because I was looking at the radar tracking this tornado, and I saw looking at a video, and I saw how fast it formed. A small mini roll tornado to a wedge in seconds. I have never, and I repeat, never seen that happen before until that day. That was unbelievable. And it's kind of one of the main reasons why I'm trying to better understand tornadoes even more, because of how tornadoes just do stuff like that. I didn't expect this thing to actually... I think this thing went through the heart of Joplin. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. But Joplin was devastated. I actually thought it couldn't get worse. But it did. Because I think two days later, another EF5 happened. This one in Oklahoma, near El Reno, Piedmont, Guthrie. And this was just 2 years before the largest recorded tornado in history. This tornado hit El Reno. And I was bombarded with how intense the tornado was, because this tornado actually merged with another tornado. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't care what anyone says. The 2011 El Reno tornado was way worse than the 2013 one, which I will talk about in a second here. Which on that particular day, this tornado, I can't remember how the damage looked, but I remember it was terrifying. And I just hope, and I want to go back now that those tornadoes are the way. That was all the tornadoes, how crazy it was in 2011. But now I want to go back to 2007 really quick. After that tornado that hit Enterprise, the next tornado I saw would be actually devastating, and it would be the May 4th, 2007 Greensburg EF5. This tornado was 1.7 miles wide and wider than the town itself, and it was actually terrifying. Like, just imagine, you're in a town that's, I can't remember how wide the town was, but you're in a town that's not really as wide. You're in a town that's bigger. I mean, with a tornado that's bigger than it. That's actually terrifying. The tornado would go on to actually destroy 95% of Greensburg. And this would actually be the first EF5 since 1999. And after that tornado, we have not had an EF5 for a while. And that would change on May 20th, 2013. And this is a day that still haunts me. This is a day that actually still haunts me. And let me explain why. When you hear a large and extremely dangerous tornado is on the ground and is heading for a school, I want you to put your mind in the mindset of a parent that's worried about their child that's at school when a tornado is heading towards it. Just think. Like, that's horrifying. Not only that, this tornado would be, well, once again, like I said, be an EF5. This tornado would go straight through Moore. It would cross this pass with the May 3rd, 1999 tornado. It would also, like I said, it would give two schools took a hit. 7 kids would be killed at one of those schools. And it was because of this tornado that the school districts in Oklahoma decided to put tornado shelters in schools, which I'd say is a smart decision. And tragedies like these is why I'm actually trying to, why I furthered my studies and try to understand these tornadoes even better. So, so we don't have stuff like that happening again. Because let me tell you, that day, what I saw that day, like I said, it's gonna live with me forever because I actually tracked that tornado on radar. It's a day I want to forget, kind of like the next day I'm about to mention. It was so that tornado, that EF5 was terrifying, right? Then we had the infamous El Reno tornado, the tornado that happened on May 31st, 2013. May 31st is a day I want to forget because of 2013, but here's the truth. I cannot forget that day. I tracked that tornado. I seen there was a lot of chaser convergence because this was the tornado of the day. When I tell you this tornado was unbelievable because of the path it took and the unfortunate tragedy that occurred with this tornado, it drops my stomach every time. This tornado would go north, would start out on a normal path, then the tornado would end up going south. And this is where the horrifying part happens, because as the tornado was going south, there were storm chasers in the path trying to get out of its way, and they ended up getting caught in the tornado. 4 of these storm chasers would end up being killed. And this tornado would actually serve as a lesson. And the lesson that it would serve is no matter if you have an escape route, tornadoes can always do something you don't expect. And that is the sad truth. And the reason I say that is because we learned a lot of lessons from El Reno. And I'm still gonna say this. Rest in peace to those chasers that died that day. One of them being the veteran Tim Samaras. I was, as someone who was into weather, in severe weather, I didn't think this would ever happen. But then I got proven wrong. Because it did happen. And when it did happen, I was taken back by that happening. I said, it doesn't matter if you're a veteran or if you're an amateur chaser. Anything can happen when you're storm chasing. And that is the sad reality. Once you know the dangers of storm chasing, there's always things that can go wrong. So now I'm going to fast forward again with the story, because this is how I really found, like, this is further when I was starting getting a better understanding for tornadoes and how to better predicting them. So let's fast forward to almost to the present day, really. So the present day is, let's go back to, I want to say 2020. Let's go 2020. On April 12th, 2020, I ended up tracking another outbreak, and this one was the Easter Sunday outbreak. And where I would track the third largest recorded tornado in U.S. history that went through Sulso and Bassfield. This tornado would be an EF4, and even the storm predictions that it would put out in Mexico discussion saying how this has the potential to do EF, could have the potential to be an EF5. And when I saw them say that, I'm like, oh my God, this is bad. And indeed, it was. If you, for anyone who remembers that day, you will know that tornado was insanely huge. Like you couldn't see the other edge of it. And this is in, that was one of the tornadoes of 2020 I remember. There was also a drill bit EF4 in in Minnesota, in Asheville, Minnesota, which was actually a beautiful tornado. It was absolutely beautiful. Like, I remember watching the video of it. Oh my God, like it was so beautiful. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And like when you see the movement of it moving fast, good Lord. It's amazing. I didn't think this tornado could get any more amazing than, but boy, like I said, Mother Nature always has tricks up her sleeve that you gotta remember. But now I go to this tornado. Now I go to another tornado. This would be This will be December 10th, 2021. I tracked two major tornadoes on this day. The first tornado being the tornado that would go through. The tornado that would end up being a tri-state tornado. The last time a tri-state tornado happened that I know of was 1925. But that wasn't the only tornado that was in EF4 that day. The other tornado that I tracked was the infamous Mayfield tornado. And dear God, I didn't think tornadoes in December could be violent in December. But like I said, Mayfield made me change my mind about how tornadoes can be. It changed my mind, literally. The same thing happened with, like, every nighttime tornado has changed my mind. Like, some nighttime tornadoes I tracked actually made my stomach drop. Like, there was that one. There was Rolling Fork last year. Rolling Fork was an EF4 with winds of 195 miles an hour. This thing was close to being an EF5. Once that tornado came, then there was the tornado outbreak on March 31st. This was a high-risk day. And so this high-risk day, there was the EF3 that went through Little Rock. There was an EF4 in Iowa. And there would be several more monster tornadoes. And let me tell you, I was just trying to tweet I was tweeting on Twitter, posting on Facebook, trying to get a warning out to people that these are major tornadoes on the ground. I was doing everything I can to get warnings out. And with let's just say, with some of the tornadoes I tracked that day, many, many more houses were destroyed than people killed due to good warning. That was partially due to me and some of my friends who were tracking these, we were tweeting radar imagery, trying to get people's attention and tell people how serious the situation is. Because it was serious. And let me go back, and now I gotta go back to another story. Now, let's go to now later in 2023, I fell victim to a tornado. I actually fell victim to a tornado, and this happened to be an EF1 tornado that actually struck during as a storm system that came from Michigan would drop 12 tornadoes in Ohio. One of them hitting me, and that ended up being an EF1 tornado. And the damage to the church, the worst of the damage happened at the church there. So once that settled, I was like, wow. Even meteorologists, even someone like me, is not safe from tornadoes, and that is true. And guess what? I had a buddy of mine in Michigan who was impacted by this storm system as well. He was hit before me. So, and then we go to this year, and then now we in 2024 now currently. I've already tracked so many intense tornadoes. I tracked. There were EF4s in Oklahoma, Iowa, Nebraska. Like, this has been one of the most active tornado seasons in years. Already, 39% more tornadoes reported than last year. And I'm just thinking to myself, can this get, how much worse can it get this season? Because, we're coming off of a La Nina year. We were in an El Nino transitioning into a La Nina, so that's gonna play another factor into tornadoes. And now I just gotta figure out how much worse is it gonna get. So this is basically the story of how I got into weather in every tornado that I tracked over the years. Because like I tell you, if I talked about any more tornadoes, every tornado that I tracked over the years, we would be here for a while. But I wanted to do this little video, this little story time video, telling about the tornadoes that I tracked, and how I got into weather. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, be sure to leave a comment. Comment down below how you got. If you were someone who was into weather, comment down below how you got into weather. Because I'm curious to know. We all have a way of how we got into weather. So I would like to know. Not only that, subscribe if you are new. And also hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload. So I'm Tornado Hunter Jakari. This was me telling the story of how I got into weather in every tornado I tracked since then. Because it was amazing how far I came. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time. Peace out and never stop chasing.